Welcome everyone to this channel where I will be sharing episode reviews of that 1960s television show that I enjoy so much, Lost in Space. I encourage you to like and subscribe so that you don't miss each new installment as I work my way through all 83 episodes of this wonderful series. Up next, Season 1, Episode 22, The Challenge. A young boy, Quano, has come to the Robinsons' planet to be tested in anticipation of ascending to his father's place as their world's ruler. He goads Will into a contest of strength and courage, and Will accepts, though is quite unaware of the risks should he lose. The Challenge is a wonderful episode. This week's alien visitors are believable, and though humanoid, very interesting to watch. The story comes with a lot of conflict and suspense. There's a bit of a morality message. It has a feel-good conclusion and even offers up some chuckles here and there. We also see an engaging father-son element, both on the alien side as well as on the Robinson side of things. So with that, let's jump into our story. Smith and Will hope to discover what it is that has been stealing food from the campsite. They're sleeping outside when the alarm sounds. They see some rocks tumbling down, the lights come on, and Smith begins to take aim with his laser, but they discover that it's not an animal at all. The thief is actually a young boy. Armed with a spear, he jumps down and hurls it at Smith and Will, missing them narrowly. Hearing the commotion, John and Don come running out of the Jupiter. They approach the alien boy, who has now retrieved his spear, and warns them to keep away. John speaks to the boy calmly, who then stands his spear while introducing himself. This initial discussion pretty well sets the tone for the entire rest of the episode.
I'm Will Robinson. I am called Quano. I am 12 years old. I am very brave and strong. Would you like to fight and see who is the better man?
Fight? I'd rather be your friend.
You are afraid of me. You are a coward.
You'd better watch who you're calling names, because if you're looking for a fight...
Now, you take it easy, Will. How did you learn our language?
From my father. He knows many languages.
How long have you been here?
I do not speak to weak and worthless girls.
Why, you conceited, dirty-faced little boy. You're nothing but...
The Robinsons offer him food and a place to sleep, but Quano makes it clear he wants nothing from any of them, and then steps away. Smith describes Quano as a primitive brute, but John says that he's not so sure, noting the advanced communication device he was wearing around his neck. With that, the Robinsons head back into the ship, unaware that Quano was still there and watching. The next morning, all of the adults are sitting down to breakfast. Ever compassionate, Maureen says that she should have insisted that the boy stay with them for the evening, when John says she'll have another opportunity to make the offer, as Quano has been hiding behind some rocks, observing them all. Maureen chastises John for not offering to have the boy join them for breakfast, when John very correctly responds,
"Oh, darling, you don't ask that young man to do anything. He has to make the first move."
Maureen heads out and extends the offer to Quano to have him join them for breakfast, but he immediately addresses her with hostility. Quano heads over to the table, and John offers him greetings. It is, however, Smith who attracts Quano's attention.
What, may I ask, are you staring at?
I was wondering if you are a typical specimen of the Earth people.
Typical? I? Certainly not. I have a great deal more intelligence.
And you Earthlings indeed are a sorry lot. Weak and full of vanity.
Now there's the best description of Smith I've ever heard.
Indeed.
Here, Quano shares a bit about his father.
Is your father with you?
No. He is the ruler. He is too busy.
What does that mean, Quano? He's the ruler.
In your world, there are presidents, kings and dictators. In mine, there is only one. The ruler.
In a way that is as humorous as it is predictable, the moment Smith comes to understand that Quano's father is the ruler of their planet, he begins fawning over Quano. About this time, Will and Penny come along with a pail of vegetables from the garden. Quano attempts to shame Will for doing what he considers to be woman's work. Shaking that off, Will says that he's going to go rock hunting, and Quano asks to join him, saying that he's going hunting as well. Penny wants to come along, but as a girl, Quano quickly refuses her, and we have a fun little moment between Penny and her father.
That horrid little boy.
I don't think Quano would mind being called horrid, but I think he'd object most strenuously to being called a little boy.
While out together, Quano begins criticizing Will's rock hunting as unmanly. He says Will should improve his strength and courage, but as Will says it,
Courage. I'll take brain over brawn any day.
You do not understand.
then Quano tells Will why he's on the planet.
I am being tested by my father
Tested for what?
for strength and courage. I must prove that I am worthy of being the ruler someday. For a whole week I have slept out in the open, lived on anything I could find.
Hey, that's really great.
It wasn't so much. The real test is coming. Then my bravery shall really be proven.
Quano's comment that the real test is coming offers a bit of foreshadowing. For now, Quano tosses aside Will's bag of rocks and brings him to a cave. There, he hands Will a spear like his own. Not knowing what to expect, Will hesitates, and Quano once more calls him a coward. With that, Will summons the courage, and the two boys enter the cave armed only with spears. Quano calls out, and from behind a rock, deep inside the cave, a creature emerges, and quite a creature it is, both in appearance and sound. Quano pushes Will aside, and he approaches the creature, but stumbles on a stone, hits his head, and passes out. Will runs to Quano, and it is here that Quano's father, the ruler, enters the cave. Armed with a gun of some kind, he takes aim, shoots, and scares off the beast. He runs to Quano and chastises him for being so foolish as to face such a fearsome creature with so primitive a weapon. Quano tries to explain himself, but the ruler sees it all very differently. The ruler then greets Will rather warmly, but Quano is quick to declare that Will is weak and a coward. Will stands up to Quano, but the ruler intercedes. After Will has gone, Quano makes a declaration to his father.
Earth boy, Father. I am far superior to him in all ways.
Do not be so sure. He might prove a very worthy opponent.
Then I shall challenge him. You will see for yourself who is the better man.
Next, we see the robot toiling away at a task that was assigned to Dr. Smith. As the robot continues to evolve and exhibit more personality, we get a fun little exchange between the two of them.
What else do we have to do?
We?
Yes, we. Are you laughing at me, you bubble-headed booby?
You heard only my computers being cleared. I do not laugh.
That's what you say. Now get on with our work.
Yes, our work.
One of these days you'll go...
Just then, Smith catches a glimpse of the ruler and Quano approaching. Calling out, "Your Highness," he proceeds to bow and fawn over the ruler. He introduces himself, extends his hand, and in fairly short order, the ruler is able to come to a full assessment of Smith.
For a man, your grip is weak. You should exercise. There is fat around your middle.
Smith tries to blame his physical state on the planet's climate and wishes only to get back to Earth. But the ruler puts a quick end to that discussion, saying that he wishes to speak with Will's father. Smith, as is his nature, tries to return the topic to himself and the possibility that the ruler may help him get back home, but the ruler shuts down. As Quano says it,
My father likes men who are strong and silent.
It would seem that Dr. Smith has none of these admirable qualities. Let us find Professor Robinson.
With that, bowing every step of the way, Smith leads them to the campsite. He sees John through the viewport and calls out for him. While waiting for John, Smith regales the ruler on the planet Earth, but once more, the ruler falls silent in irritation, prompting Quano to interject. Along with Don and Maureen, John approaches the leader and introduces himself. He extends his hand, and this greeting leads to a much more cordial exchange.
Good. We know each other better now.
Is there anything we can do for you?
A strong handshake, a direct question. I like that.
John asks if he's here to take Quano home to their planet, and the ruler responds, soon, that he has acquitted himself well here. He goes on to say that he is likewise impressed with Will. Quano tries to claim his own superiority, but the ruler intercedes, saying that he may not brag until he exhibits his superiority through the challenge. Maureen asks, what sort of challenge? And here we get a bit more insight into the nature of the ruler's world.
It is a matter for men to decide.
Well, I don't know about your world, but in ours, women are treated as the equals of men.
What a foolish arrangement.
Well, I don't see anything foolish about it.
Women the equal of men? In what way? Are they stronger than men? Do they have more intelligence? Do they make laws or fight wars? This will be an excellent story for me to tell when I return home.
I can hear the boys at the club laughing already.
Just as Will arrives, the ruler begins describing the nature of the challenge, that they are a series of competitions that pit two individuals' skills and strengths against one another. The ruler says there is nothing to worry about, that there will be no physical danger. These games are used on his planet to determine who is the master and who is the slave. Immediately, Maureen jumps in and says she will not permit it, but the ruler is clear. He is interested only in the opinion of John. John says no to Will's participation, echoing Maureen's assertion that Will doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. Quano then accuses both John and Will of being a coward, and that compels Will to respond.
I accept the challenge. I accept.
Now what do you say, Mr. Robinson?
I'd say that your son's challenge has been accepted.
That evening in the Jupiter, Maureen still wants John to call the whole thing off, but John is very reluctant. Beyond not wanting to disappoint Will, there's the question of Will's pride, and knowing that his father has confidence in him. He believes everyone should have the right to rise to a challenge, to test their own intelligence, skill, and strength, that it's these things that have pushed human civilization forward across centuries. Maureen ultimately agrees, though amusingly, she doesn't seem to understand exactly why.
Can't go back to the Stone Age, can we?
Mother, what does the Stone Age have to do with it?
Well, I don't really know, dear, but it all seems quite clear when your father explains it.
Meanwhile, we see Smith spying on the ruler and Quano. He can't get close enough to hear, so he compels the robot to use his long-range audio detectors. The robot is hesitant, as it would be unethical, but Smith compels him, and now we get some insight into exactly what is at stake in this challenge.
On your last challenge. If you are defeated, you know what will happen. I will have to destroy the victor and all witnesses. It is our law. No one must be superior to you.
All witnesses?
I know, Father.
Having heard this, Smith starts cooking up a scheme, but as he turns to go, he is surprised to come face to face with the ruler, or more accurately stated, his nose meets the ruler's gun. The ruler rightfully accuses Smith of spying, and then insists that Smith not reveal anything that he may have heard, that if he does, he will be destroyed. As the ruler goes on to say,
No matter what happens, the contest must be fair and open. Is that understood?
Of course. Fair and open. What other way would anyone want it, Your Majesty?
Next day, we see Smith training Will. He has him on a treadmill, and it quickly becomes clear that Smith is actually over-training Will. Donned in the sweats and hat of a coach and carrying a whistle, we get a bit more of our new and ever more comedic Smith.
Exercise is not beneficial for an athlete.
When I want your opinion, I'll ask for it.
Our boy will lose this fight in the gym.
Oh, spare me your ridiculous jargon. And since when did he become our boy? He's my boy. I'm his sole trainer.
Noting that first statement by the robot, that Will lose the match in the gym, this is exactly what Smith has in mind. To overtrain Will, to exhaust him, and see that he loses the match. Don comes along and sees that Will is thoroughly worn out. He puts a stop to the exercising and tells Will to take a break. Then he challenges Smith, knowing that there must be some ulterior motive, but Smith is mum, suggesting only that a grateful leader might provide passage back to Earth. Later, everyone is in the Jupiter when Quano arrives. He brings a message from his father that a suitable field for the games has been prepared and the contest will begin tomorrow morning. He says that failure to appear will be deemed an act of cowardice and that the ruler will assess a penalty. Maureen steps in, alarmed as to how all of this is unfolding. Quano is elusive about the nature of the penalty, but John is clear. They will be there. Quano says he will return in the morning to guide them all to the field, and with that, steps away. Later that day, we have Smith and the robot out along a path where they expect to run into Quano. While waiting, we get another little slice of the new and more comedic robot.
Obviously, you've miscalculated. Again.
There is always a margin of error, even in a machine. Only Dr. Zachary Smith is perfect.
I am indeed, and don't you forget about it.
Then the robot announces that Quano is approaching. Smith goes searching and is alarmed to find Quano, who is now holding his weapon to Smith's chest. Quano puts his gun down and asserts confidence that he will win the challenge. This leads to an interesting exchange between the two, Smith trying to throw the competition in Quano's favor, Quano apparently weighing the possibility, and then responding as you might expect.
Well, Your Highness, what do you say?
You are very lucky, Dr. Smith. Had you made your offer to my father, he might have done you harm in his anger. He is a man of honor.
And it seems that his son is a chip off the old block.
For your sake, I will say nothing about this. But do not speak to me again. I dislike traitors.
Your Highness.
On the morning of the challenge, John, Don, and Will emerge from the Jupiter. Will feels exceedingly nervous about the competition. Smith says that he will be there with his medical kit, which doesn't exactly improve Will's confidence. Then Quano arrives to escort them all to the field. Penny wants to attend, but Quano is clear. This event is for men only. John says that it's best if she remain behind with her mother, which obviously arouses some protest from Maureen.
Remain behind with your mother.
Remain? You mean I'm not allowed to go either?
This time we'll play it by their rules, darling.
I hope Will pins your ears back.
The men arrive at the field, and the ruler opens the event in a rather dramatic fashion.
Let the challenge begin.
The first event involves a rod that each boy grasps at opposite ends and holds over their heads. Their strength meets within the rod such that the weaker of the two will not be able to hold it up any longer. Though he gave it everything, Will is defeated by Quano and now feels thoroughly exhausted. The next challenge is a test of fear. Each boy wears a helmet that projects illusions of danger into their minds, and their fear is measured. We transition through quick scenes of other challenges. The boys taking turns crushing stones with a gloved hand and shooting at targets, among other games that we do not see. Smith is giving Will a rubdown when he tells him that he and Quano are tied. There's one contest left, and Will believes he can still win, but Smith tries to advance his plan of having Will lose on purpose, hoping that a grateful leader might offer passage back to Earth. Of course, there's also still the matter of not having all witnesses destroyed, something that Smith elects not to share with Will. Will, however, has his own take.
I don't think you understand, Dr. Smith. I'm not just trying to beat Quano for myself. It's like I was representing every boy from Earth against every boy from another planet.
You're a very noble young man, William. Sometimes I wish you were a little less honest. Life would be a great deal easier.
John and Don come to retrieve Will for the final contest when they notice the ruler and Quano off at a distance having a passionate discussion. The ruler is concerned that Quano will lose to Will. Contrary to Quano's protestations, the ruler proposes that there be substitutions, he for Quano and John to take Will's place. Reluctantly, John agrees, and the two men prepare for the final challenge, a duel with Volta blades, essentially a fencing match with epis that are charged with 50,000 volts. This duel carries on for quite some time, and an exciting display it is. There are times when each man appears to have the upper hand. At one point during the battle, though, a disheartened Quano picks up his spear and leaves. Finally, after pounding away on him, John is successful at throwing the weapon from the ruler's hands. Ever the sportsman, John picks it up and offers it back to him, but the ruler states that the contest is over, and John is the victor. After that competition, the ruler is looking for Quano. Will says that he left in the middle of the match because he was very hurt at not being able to continue the challenge. Will saw him pick up a spear and wander off, assuming that he's gone back to the cave to once more face that creature. Here, the ruler asks a reasonable question, and John offers a reasonable answer.
What would he want with so primitive a weapon?
The cave! He's going to the cave to fight the monster!
Quano would not be so foolish after I warned him.
Can you think of a better way for a boy whose pride is hurt to prove himself to his father?
The men all run off to the cave where Quano has already entered and announced his arrival to the creature. The men all arrive at the cave. As the ruler runs up to his son, he tells John and Don not to shoot. Then the ruler atones to Quano for not believing in him. It is interesting that it is during this admission by his father that we see Quano smile for only the first time in the entire episode. Our next scene sets up our next episode. I will once more withhold my comments until my review of that episode, The Space Trader. So a few more thoughts about the challenge, and let me begin by considering this episode's two greatest assets, our guest stars. First, we have Quano, portrayed by a young Kurt Russell. Quano acts every bit like that person of privilege, someone who has grown up knowing that he is to be king. He's bold, he's cocky, and seems to have, or at least will have, the skills to back up that arrogance. He struggles, however, with restraint and good judgment, something that will certainly come to him as he matures. In spite of his still young age, there is in Quano a certain degree of decorum. It's interesting to see how, when he comes to the Jupiter 2 to advise the men of the field for the challenge, he's deliberate in leaving his laser at the door, and then asks for permission to enter, all out of respect for the Robinsons. I think Kurt Russell was excellent in the role, and it's interesting to know that he was originally considered to play Davy Sims during the episode Return from Outer Space. Casting for Davy went to Donald Losby, and I think that was the right call, as both young men are more easily believable in the roles with which they were ultimately cast. Then there's the ruler, portrayed by Michael and Sarah. Like Quano, the ruler is amply capable and equally self-assured, but is also more sophisticated, measured, and thoughtful. In spite of his arrogance, he carries himself with an air of dignity. I love the early scene in the cave when Quano trips while facing the monster. The ruler jumps in, and after the creature is beaten back, the ruler exhibits his insight, his unwavering determination, and thoughtful judgment. Mostly, it's fun to listen to him chastise Quano while acknowledging Will's qualities. I enjoy the ruler's message to Quano that being a man and even a leader requires more than just courage. It must be balanced with strength of character and good judgment. These two alien characters have wonderful exchanges with their Robinson counterparts, the ruler with John and Quano with Will. While John and the ruler are similar and express a mutual respect for each other, Will and Quano are essentially opposites, or at least they begin that way. Quano is nothing short of hostile to Will right from the beginning, while as Will puts it, he'd rather be Quano's friend. Give it to Will, not all boys his age would have the character, patience, and courage to extend themselves to Quano that way in the face of all of his hostility. I will have to say, though, that Quano is so clearly older and larger than Will that the challenge never really seemed fair, but I guess we'll need to give that a pass. Then there's Smith, who continues his slide towards the comedic. I enjoy the scene during which Quano arrives while the Robinsons are having breakfast. The way Quano closely examines Smith, finally asking him if he's a typical specimen. There's also Smith's over-the-top fawning once he discovers that Quano is a future ruler. Then, of course, we have another early example of Smith wearing attire that is completely inexplicable. In this instance, the coaching outfit, complete with sweats, a baseball cap, and a whistle. At this stage in the series, at least for me and my tastes, all of Smith's comedy is a good bit of fun that isn't overly silly and still actually manages to advance the story. The giggles come again between Smith and the robot. By the time of this episode, the robot has also become a more comedic character, one that delivers that comedy usually at Smith's expense. This is something that will accelerate over the course of seasons 2 and 3, even becoming a bit intolerable near the end of the series, once again at least for me and my tastes. Here in the challenge, though, the robot's comedy is fairly limited and does add a few quick smiles along the way. I still very much enjoy this current iteration of the robot. Of course, this episode comes with an underlying story, that of sexism and traditional male and female roles. As is always the case with any show being viewed out of its time, it's interesting, if not amusing, to watch Lost in Space aspire to be progressive on the matter of these roles through the lens of the 1960s. The show talks about the equality of the sexes, but still always seems to have the men exploring, finding, defending, and fixing, while the women are typically preparing meals, clearing it away, doing laundry, and so on. Even in this episode, there's a short scene largely devoted to the idea of the women being the coffee makers.
Just what we needed. Like the ruler said, men are stronger and smarter, but women make the best coffee.
Well, that depends on the woman.
Ah, and the coffee.
It's nice to know we're capable of doing something.
Having watched these shows many times over, I sometimes try to look beyond the point of focus and now appreciate little things in the background that I might not have noticed previously. For instance, Maureen chastises John for not inviting Quano to join them for breakfast. John responds correctly by saying, "You don't invite that boy to do anything. He must make the first move." Maureen brings him over to the breakfast table anyway, and as John predicted, Quano conducts himself rather hostilely. Then we see John get up from the table. Your eyes are inclined to stay on Smith and Quano as they banter, but watching John as he walks away, he gestures to Maureen with his hands as though to silently say, "See, I told you so." It's something of no consequence to the episode, but it's also a gesture that I find very humanizing and relatable, and something that also brings to me a little bit of a smile. Finally, we have the games. They're both interesting and exciting. The gadgets are fun to see, even if some of them are maybe a little bit hokey. The final challenge, a duel with the Voltablades, makes for a terrific climax to an already excellent episode. As much as there are so many things to enjoy about the challenge, there are a few small disappointments along the way. And the weapon that we see the ruler carry is one of them. This weapon is quite clearly a Western six-shooter painted silver with some appendages glued on. Regardless of what's attached, it never stops looking like a revolver from the Old West. There's also the moment when the ruler signals the start of the games by launching his spear at a target over his shoulder. When we see the ruler push the spear off his shoulder, it immediately begins to fall to the ground. There's a cut to the target, and we see that spear lunge firmly into the bullseye. The idea of this scene is very cool, but what we see in the first portion could never have resulted in what we see in the second. Likewise, at the end of the Volta-Blades duel, we see John pounding on the ruler's weapon. The ruler loses his grip, and the weapon falls to the ground. Leading up to that, though, there's a shot of just the ruler, and it appears that he's not engaged in the fight at all, that he's just standing there with his weapon as John slashes down on him, and it always looks a bit out of place at the conclusion of this very physical challenge. Then we have the climax. While you're watching this episode, it's easy to expect that the games will be the climax, and it does seem that way, but the true resolution of the story is yet to come. This occurs later, back in the cave as Quano faces the lizard monster for a second time. This episode has one of the most satisfying conclusions of the series. The ruler offers warm fatherly counsel to his son, and that counsel is gratefully accepted by his son as a lesson they have both learned well. A truly wonderful conclusion to an already great episode. Finally, I have to wonder how the Robinsons get off the hook. We are told earlier that if Will defeats Quano, all witnesses must be destroyed so that there is no record of the future ruler's defeat. But John actually does defeat the current ruler. Don't the Robinsons now need to be destroyed? You would think so, but I guess maybe the answer can be found in the story's resolution. The ruler acknowledges to his son,
He would be beaten. It was I who lacked courage. There is no disgrace in defeat. A man does the best he can. Nothing more can be asked of him.
Shall we fight the monster together, Father?
I will be honored, my son.
Once again, a great conclusion to a great episode. Here, let me give the final word to our two ever more comedic characters.
All is fair in love and war.
Love? That does not compute.
It never has.
This episode is built upon a very fun and exciting story. The guest stars are wonderful in their roles, there's a bit of comedy, and it is all capped by a very strong conclusion. That's a lot to like. I grade the challenge as an A- and rank it 22nd for the season and 38th for the series. It's an episode that I always enjoy seeing come up in the rotation. If you would like to see the full Lost in Space series, it presently airs for free on METV. You can also still pick up Lost in Space on DVD. Walmart currently sells a box set that includes some wonderful extras, and it's available at a very modest cost. Better still, pick up Lost in Space on Blu-ray. That set also features a number of wonderful extras, including commentary by the cast. Like I said, I'm a fan, and for me, the Blu-ray is a must-have. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the challenge. One of the things I enjoy most about sharing reviews like this is how different fans perceive each episode quite differently, and I invite you to leave your own perspectives below in the comments. Most of all, I hope you will come back to join me when I review our next episode, The Space Trader. Though we fall ever deeper into an Alien of the Week type of mode, this is another excellent episode quite at home in the strong Season 1. Once again, I recommend subscribing so that you don't miss each new installment. Thanks for watching.